Hello, my name is Sadie Deraj, and today I'll be discussing Michel de Montaigne. Some of you may be wondering who Michel de Montaigne is. Well, he was a philosopher that lived throughout the 16th century, and he was prominent during the French Renaissance. He was born in 1533 and passed away in 1592, making him almost 60. He was 59, and he was known for many things. Montaigne was known for his unique philosophical approaches. Throughout his philosophy, influences of Stoicism, skepticism, and Epicureanism can be seen. One of the things he is known for was his opposition and disdain for academia, memory, and knowledge. He believed that excessively studying is not really how you actually learn philosophy, and he believed that the only way to really learn was to actually go outside and interact with people and experience things and use your own judgment. Montaigne thought that excessively studying would result in you becoming an unpleasant person and would also result in you not really being able to enjoy life. And as I recently stated, Montaigne was a skeptic. He was known to believe that just because something is a commonly accepted idea throughout society does not make it the absolute truth, and that there is no real way for us to know any absolute truths. One of the main ways that Montaigne studied philosophy was by excessively studying himself. Yes, his deep introspection is actually what led him to creating what he's probably most known for, which is the essay. Yes, Michel de Montaigne is known for pioneering the writing format of the essay, which is a still widely used format of writing today. Essay is actually the French word for attempt. So Montaigne's essays were actually just his own attempts at deep introspection and his attempts at understanding himself and concepts of philosophy in general. They were known to be a lot more intimate than what was usually written back then, and they changed the way that we write forever, basically. Something else that Michel de Montaigne is known for were his very particular views on friendship, which is what will be discussed further in this presentation. To give some background on Montaigne's views on friendship, I'd like to introduce Etienne de la Boétie. I am not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but Boétie is who Montaigne believed to be his best friend of all time, and he used his relationship with Boétie as an example of what true friendship looks like, and this is the friendship that he used to compare every other relationship he had to, no matter if it was a friendship or a siblingship or anything like that, really. Although Montaigne considered Boétie to be his best friend of all time, they'd actually only known each other for about 4 years before Boétie unfortunately passed away. And even though they only knew each other for about 4 years, when Boétie passed away, Montaigne apparently felt like he had lost half of himself. And I feel like that would say a lot about how strong their friendship was. And this brings us to Montaigne's very strict standards that he had for true friendship. Montaigne viewed friendship to be an extremely rare thing. In fact, he believed that you could only really have one true friend in your lifetime. Now, to us, this may sound like a crazy concept, considering that in this day and age, having multiple friends is a very normal thing to do. In fact, he probably believed that you are surrounded with multiple true friends. However, Montaigne would disagree with you. He would ask you to question yourself. He would ask you to be like, is there one friend that you would prioritize above every other friend? And he would consider that to be your one true friend. Montaigne believed that you have this one friendship with the person that you are the most compatible with, and the person that you can share everything with without hesitating, the person that you trust the most, and the person that you are not expecting to gain anything out of. There's absolutely no external motivation within this friendship. You are only friends with them just because they are them. Now, Montaigne didn't believe that this sort of a friendship was possible between just anybody. In fact, he had many restrictions on who this sort of friendship was attainable to. For one, Montaigne believed that women were not capable of friendship, whether it be with a man or a woman. Montaigne also believed that friendship was not possible between parents and children, but he specified with fathers and sons. He also believed that siblings could not be true friends. And he also believed that romance and marriage would eliminate any sort of possibility of friendship. As stated in the last slide, Montaigne held sort of controversial beliefs when it came to gender and friendship. Montaigne claimed that only men could form friendships with each other, while women were not able to form friendships with men, and were also not able to form friendships with each other. Similarly to many other philosophers of this time, Montaigne claimed that there was something different about a woman from a man, and that a woman did not have a soul that was firm enough for a long-lasting friendship like men did. Considering the drastic differences between gender roles in the 16th century and gender roles in today's society, I can see how a difference in souls of men and women might be a commonly believed concept back then, but I think it's safe to say that this concept has been disproven. Moving on to our next restriction, Montaigne believed that the relationship between parents and children, but he specifically only talked about the relationship between fathers and sons, could not be qualified as a friendship. I mean, sure, he knew that a close relationship with your parents was possible. However, he would not go as far to say that that would make it a friendship. He thought that there was too many things within this dynamic that could complicate the relationship and disqualify it as a friendship. Some of the things that make this relationship not a friendship is that there is an obvious unequal balance of power between parents and children. Obviously, parents have authority while children do not. And also, the relationship is based on respect instead of mutual confidences and shared experiences. Traditionally, in relationships between parents and children, there is a certain standard of behavior that children are held to in order to sustain a certain level of respect for their parent. And Montaigne believed that this is not something that should be involved in a normal friendship. Also, within this dynamic, there is a lack of transparency. There are certain things that parents and children are not supposed to share with each other, and this lack of transparency would, by Montaigne's standards, make it impossible for parents and children to actually be friends with each other. And if the idea that not being able to be friends with your parents upsets you, and you're thinking, well, at least I can be friends with my siblings, well, Montaigne would beg to differ. If you're close to your siblings like I am, you may be wondering, how is it possible that me and my siblings can't be friends? I've known them my entire life, and they know so much about me. Well, Montaigne would tell you that no matter how close siblings are, it could never possibly be friendship. He claims that there's too much conflict that occurs between siblings, and when you think about it, he's not really wrong. I mean, if you have siblings like I do, then you know that siblings tend to fight a lot, even if they are pretty close. In his approach, he also emphasizes the sense of competition that is felt between siblings. And this is definitely not a foreign concept in today's society. However, I think it may have been a more common concept back then because of the matters of siblings and the matters of inheritance. Back when Montaigne was living, it was pretty common for siblings to have to fight for positions of status and inheritance, and I'm not saying that that doesn't happen today, because obviously it still happens, but I feel like it was definitely a lot more usual for it to happen back then. Another part of the relationship between siblings that Montaigne emphasizes is the biological aspect. Some may say that the biological aspect of siblinghood would make it easier for you to be closer to your sibling, but Montaigne would argue that biology doesn't equate to compatibility at all. He would say that being blood related to someone does not obligate you to befriend your sibling. Montaigne claimed that the whole biological part of siblinghood made it less of a choice. You were kind of being forced to be friends with someone, while he believed that friendship should occur with someone that you choose to love unconditionally, not someone that you're forced to spend time with and love. The next dynamic that will be discussed is romance/marriage. A few slides ago, I mentioned how Montaigne didn't believe that women could partake in friendship at all. However, now I will discuss on why specifically he believed that romance and marriage could not involve friendship, and this romance and marriage will be discussed as two different things because he did not believe that they were the same thing. To start off, Montaigne claimed that romantic partners could not ever be friends with each other because of the passion and lust aspect that is involved in romance. He believed that passion and lust had no place in a friendship, and that friendship should be strictly platonic because passion and lust are elements that fade with time, and that wouldn't make for a strong friendship, a strong or long-lasting friendship at all. Next is marriage, which Montaigne claims to be a completely different thing than romance, and considering the time that he lived in, I consider this to be a pretty fair statement, to be honest, because back then, marriage rarely ever actually involved any sort of romance. In the 16th century, marriage was definitely more like just a contract. Marriage was seen as just a means to an end, just a means to reproduction and financial security. And since there's so much trade off involved in marriage and so much external motivation involved in marriage, it makes it impossible for it to be considered a friendship because, you're getting something out of it. You're looking to get something out of it rather than just a connection. So that's how marriage and heterosexual romance could not be seen as friendship. However, Montaigne also brings up homosexual relationships and how those can't be seen as friendships either. In his essays, he specifically refers to the homosexual relationships between the ancient Greeks and how those could never be friendships either because of the power imbalance and the trade-off of wealth and beauty. What he meant when he said this was that the ancient Greeks these relationships tended to happen between older, rich, powerful men and younger, beautiful men that looked for status. But I just thought this was a very interesting thing for him to bring up, and he also opposed it because of his strict Christian stance. To conclude, Michel de Montaigne was a prominent philosopher in the 16th century, and he had a very particular view on friendship. He believed that friendship was an extremely rare and special thing, and it only came around maybe once in a lifetime. However, he also had many restrictions on who was who was allowed to be in friendships, and this did not involve women, parents, siblings, romantic partners, or marriage. If you think that anything at all in this presentation was interesting, or you just want to learn more about Michel de Montaigne, then I suggest you read Great Ideas on Friendship by Michel de Montaigne. It's just a collection of his essays, and I thought it was a pretty interesting read. And I thought it was pretty interesting to be reading essays written by the pioneer of the essay itself. And yeah, so if that's something you're interested in, I suggest you look into it. And thank you for watching.